they're having the ducts, and whatever the secretions in them, it is outletted or it is eliminated out with the help of that duct. But endocrine glands, these glands are ductless, and whatever the secretions which are secreted in the form of hormones, that is directly liberated into the bloodstream or in the blood vessel. So both these systems, they are having their specific importance in our body. Exocrine glands, having the examples like salivary gland, tear glands, sweat glands. These are some examples of exocrine glands. And the endocrine glands, they're having the different type of endocrine glands. They are present in our body and situated at different locations. The pineal gland, the pituitary gland, thyroid gland, the adrenal gland, pancreas gland, then testes, ovaries. These are the endocrine glands, and having the function to secrete the hormones. So in our syllabus, according to our syllabus, we have to study the structure, functions, and hormonal disorders of the endocrine glands. And in this, we have to study the pituitary gland, the examples of endocrine glands, the pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal, and the pancreas. It is also called as islets of Langerhans. Then the endocrine glands are the glands of endocrine system that secrete their products in the form of hormones. They are directly liberated into the blood rather than through the duct, just I have told you. Then the major glands of the endocrine system include the pineal, pituitary, pancreas, ovaries, testes, thyroid, parathyroid, hypothalamus, then adrenal. These are some important glands. These are some important endocrine glands, and they having their important role in our body. Whatever the secretions which are in the form of hormones, these secretions, they are transported towards their target organs, and these secretions, they make their function at that particular organ. Then the hypothalamus and pituitary glands are neuroendocrine organs. So if you see that, particularly we have seen in last few periods about nervous system, we have seen that how the brain, which is divided into three regions, that is forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, and the extension of brain is in the form of spinal cord. Then brain having the important role, that is to control all the systems of our body. Then whatever the different parts of brain, in that the region that is of hypothalamus region, which is present at the base of the brain, hypothalamus region is present on the base of the brain, and in that region pituitary gland is present. So this region, hypothalamus region, controls the activity of pituitary gland, and both these hypothalamus and pituitary gland are neuroendocrine glands, means they controls all the activities of other glands. Then local chemical messengers, not generally considered part of endocrine system, include the autocrines, then which act on the cells that secrete them, and paracrines, which act on a different cell type nearby. So if you see that there are different chemical messengers, these messengers, they are not generally considered as the part of endocrine system. As I told you that the endocrine glands, they are responsible for the secretion of hormones, and the hormones, they are nothing but the chemical messengers. And beside these hormones, there are certain chemical messengers in the form of autocrines, then paracrines, but they said that it is not the hormones, and they having their particular function, that is at a local or cellular level as a chemical messenger, but these are not hormones. Then the ability of a target cell to respond to a hormone depends on the presence of receptors within the cell or on its plasma membrane to which the hormone can bind. So hormones which are secreted by different endocrine glands, they having the ability that to target the cell or particular organ which is activated by that particular hormone, and it is noted that the respond this target cell they get respond to that hormone and depends on the presence of the receptors. So hormones when the hormones they get uh, uh, low, particularly they get towards the target cell. At that time, they activate that particular cells to function their working. So, whatever the functions of that particular cell, if you see the role of certain hormones, the example that is the hormones which are secreted by the thyroid gland. These hormones, they having the role in the maintaining the BMC, that is basic PMR, that is basic metabolic rate of cells. So these hormones which are secreted by the thyroid gland, these hormones they play an important role in maintaining the metabolic activities of our body on the cellular level. So in this way, that these hormones they act as receptors and within the cell or on its plasma membrane to which the hormone can bind. Then hormone receptors are dynamic structures. Changes in number and sensitivity of hormone receptors may occur in response to high or low levels of stimulating hormones. So according to the need of body, these hormones they are secreted by the glands, and whatever the changes in the number and sensitivity of the hormone receptors, it may occur in the response that is high or low according to the response of our body and that high or low levels of stimulating hormones. Then blood levels of hormones reflect a balance between secretion and degradation or excretion. If you see that whatever the secretion in the blood, we have seen that the composition, we have seen the cardiovascular system. In that, we have seen the composition of blood. Blood contains the blood cells, then glucose, then hormones, and certain different type of components is present in the blood. So, according to that, there are certain hormones they are also present in that particular blood. Then the liver and kidneys are the major organs that degrade hormones, breakdown products are excreted in urine and feces. So, whatever the secretion of hormones by the these endocrine glands, and according to the need, these hormones they are released into the blood vessels, and the excess type of hormones, particularly when they reach into the liver, when they reach into the kidneys, where the major organs that degrade the hormones and breakdown of products and are excreted in urine and feces. So whatever the excess hormones or after the use of the hormones, after their stimulating function, these hormones they are particularly break down, and these hormones they are excreted through the urine or the feces. Then the control of hormone release. If you see the endocrine glands which belong to the body's that control system, uh, the hormones which they produce help to regulate the functions of cells and tissues throughout the body. The endocrine organs are activated to release their hormones by hormone, that is a humoral, neural, or hormonal stimuli. So the endocrine system which belong to the body's control. As I told you that the nervous system, it controls all the systems of our body. That is, whether it is digestive system, reproductive system, respiratory system, excretory system, endocrine system, exocrine system, circulatory system. These all systems, they are controlled by the nervous system, or we can say that there is a control on these systems through the nervous system. Then whatever the hormones which the they are produced through the endocrine glands, they help to regulate the functions of the cells. Means whatever the cells of our body or whatever the tissues of our body, whatever the regulation of their functioning is controlled through the hormones. Means the hormones activate the cells and tissues to do their work. Then endocrine organs are activated to release their hormones. So if you see uh, the uh, endocrine organs which activated to release their hormones by humoral, neural, or the hormonal stimuli. So whatever the secretion of hormones by this endocrine system in different endocrine glands, it is depend or it is activated that is through the humoral or neural or hormonal stimuli. Whatever the production of or the secretion of these hormones, it is depend on that particular stimuli. Then the negative feedback is important in regulating hormone levels in the blood. As I told you that whatever the feedback, on the basis of that feedback, the secretion or the synthesis process of the hormones in the endocrine gland is depend. So it is said that whatever the negative feedback by the cells or by which is regulating in the that is the hormones which are regulating in the blood, or the levels of hormones which are continuously regulating in the blood, on the basis of that feedback, the secretion of the hormones or the synthesis of the hormones in the endocrine gland is depend. Then the nervous system acting through hypothalamic controls can in certain cases override or modulate hormonal effects. So as I told you that the nervous system, it is acting through hypothalamic controls. As I told that the region of brain that is present in this region, you can see that in the picture. In this picture, you can see that this is the region of hypothalamus. This is the hypothalamus region, which is present at the base of the brain, and this region is uh, having the important role in the controlling of these glands, whatever the controlling. It is said that the pituitary gland is the master gland. Pituitary gland is the master gland, and which controls the activities of other endocrine glands. This pituitary gland controls the other activities of other endocrine glands. But the recent research have shown that there is a control on pituitary gland through this hypothalamus region. There is a control on this pituitary gland through this hypothalamus region, which is the part of midbrain of the brain. ब्रेनच्या मिड ब्रेनचा जो पार्ट आहे हायपोथॅलॅमस त्याला म्हटलं जाते, तर इट कंट्रोल्स द ऍक्टिव्हिटी ऑफ पिट्युटरी ग्लँड अँड व्हॉट एव्हर दी particularly the production of synthesis of hormones in the gland, it is depend on whatever the that is the feedback of that particular cells. Then hormones, the hormones, as we have heard that the hormones, they are nothing but the chemical messengers which having the role in stimulating the cells or the tissues. Cells or tissues, they are stimulated by the hormones, and the hormones which are produced in the endocrine glands, which are nothing but the chemical messengers which stimulates the cells and the tissues. Then the first hormone was discovered by the English physiologist William M. Bayliss and Ernest H. Sterling in 1903. The term hormone was introduced by Starling in 1905. A hormone may be defined as a specific product which is in organic form, or you can say that it is organic substance of an endocrine gland secreted into the blood, which carries it to specific part of the body. Here it produces a definite physiological effect. So, as I told you that the hormone is nothing but it is a chemical messenger. It is in organic form, or you can say that it is an organic substance, and it is secreted in the endocrine glands and directly released into the bloodstream, and the blood carries it to the specific part of the body. Here it produces a definite physiological effects, make effects on that particular region. This effect may be either excitatory or inhibitory in action. Then endocrine glands have no ducts and liberated hormones directly into the bloodstream. For this reason, the endocrine glands are referred to as the ductless glands. I have told you about that. These endocrine glands don't having ducts as compared to the exocrine glands. Endocrine glands having no ducts, as the endocrine exocrine glands they having the ducts, and whatever the product in the form of hormones they are directly released into the bloodstream, and for this reason the endocrine glands they are referred as ductless glands. Then the properties of hormones which are secreted by the endocrine glands. The hormones are produced by specialized glands and are secreted directly into the bloodstream. Hormones are transported by the bloodstream from the endocrine cells to serve as chemical messengers who act on target cells or organs by regulating the rates of specific metabolic reactions. So these hormones, as I told you, that they are transported through the uh, through the bloodstream, and the blood play an important role that is in the transportation of these hormones, or also you can say it is a chemical messenger. Then these chemical messengers they act on the target cells or the organs by regulating the rates of specific metabolic reactions. Then hormones exert their effects not where they are locally produced, but on other tissues of the body. So hormones which are produced in endocrine glands, these hormones they don't having any effect on that particular region where they are produced, but they are locally they make their effects on the other side of the body. Then hormones are required in very small amounts, and their effect may be that is excitatory or inhibitory depending upon their concentration and the physiological state of the responding tissue. So as I told you that these hormones, they are nothing but the chemical messengers, and they are required in very small amounts to make their effect. Either it is in that is excitatory form, or it is in inhibitory form. It is depending upon the concentration of that particular concentration and the physiological state of that responding tissue. A hormone belongs to different types of chemical structure. They may be steroids, proteins, peptides of amino acid derivatives. So the hormones which are belonging of different types of chemical structures. So these chemical structures, either maybe it is steroids, or either it is proteins, or either it is peptides or amino acid derivatives. Then the chemical nature of hormones. All the hormones are organic substances of that is varying structural complexity. If you see that whatever the hormones which are secreted by different endocrine glands, these hormones, they are, as I told you, that they are in organic, they are organic substances, and it is noted that they are varying structural complexity. Chemically, they may belong to any of the following categories: that is steroid hormones, proteinous hormones, catecholamine hormones, amino acid derivatives, peptide hormones. These are the five types of hormones which having the chemical nature. The hormones, on the basis of their chemical natures, they are categorized into steroid, proteinous, catecholamine, amino acid derivatives, and peptide hormones. So these are five categories of hormones which are based on their chemical nature. So according to our syllabus, we have to study about the glands, pituitary, the glands, endocrine glands. We have to study five examples of these glands, endocrine glands: pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, and pancreas gland. So the first gland we have to study, that is pituitary gland. This pituitary gland, we have to study the structure and functions of this pituitary gland. Then this gland is also called as hypophysis, because it is present in the region of hypophysis of the brain. Then if you see the location, the pituitary gland or the hypophysis cerebri is one of the well protected glands of the body. It is unpaired organ located in the sella turcica, that is concavity in the sphenoid bone. The gland is closely applied to the floor of the fair brain, that is hypothalamus, and remains attached to it by means of a stalk containing nerve fibers and blood vessels. So you can see that this is the location of this pituitary gland. Then it is well protected in cerebri. If you see that as I told you, that it is present at the base of the brain, and it is well protected in this region as compared to the other glands. Then these glands, the pituitary gland is unpaired, and it is located in this region that is called as sella turcica, and the concavity in the sphenoid bone. Then this gland, that is pituitary gland, is closely applied to the floor of the brain. As I told you, that this is the region that is it is called as the hypothalamus region, and in this region, this that is the floor of the brain, this pituitary gland is located. Then it remains attached to it by means of a sac that is containing the nerve fibers and blood vessels. The attachment of this gland in this region with the help of the nerve fibers, and it is also noted that blood vessels, they show connectivity with this gland. Then in adult, the pituitary gland consists of two distinct adjacent lobes, that is called as the adenohypophysis anterior pituitary and neurohypophysis posterior pituitary. This gland is having two regions, that is adenohypophysis region, that is anterior region, and the posterior region, that is neurohypophysis. These are the two regions. Then the pituitary gland is a source of at least uh, a source of at least of anterior and posterior pituitary hormones. It is the smallest endocrine gland in the body. So as compared to the other glands, Other glands like thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, testes, ovaries. As compared to these glands, this pituitary gland is small in size, and it is a least source of hormones which are secreted in both the anterior and posterior region of pituitary. So you can see the structure of this gland. This is the structure of pituitary gland, and in this structure, that is you can see that your pituitary gland is about the size of a pea, and is situated in bony hollow just behind the pitch of your nose. It is attached to the base of your brain by a thin stalk. So this is the structure of pituitary gland, and if you see that as you compare that your pituitary gland which is located in the that is a bony hollow region, bridge of nose, that is on the apex region of your buccal cavity, in the uh, in the floor of brain, this pituitary gland is present. Then it is said that it is having the size like pea. आपला वाटाणा जो असतो पी, त्याची साईज जी आहे, जस्ट लाईक दॅट साईज, इट हॅव्हिंग द साईज, देन it is attached to the base of the brain. Then hypothalamus, which controls the pituitary by sending messages, it situated immediately above the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus, this region, you can see that this is the region of hypothalamus, and this is the region of the pituitary gland. It controls the activity of the pituitary gland. This hypothalamus region controls the activity of pituitary gland and sending the messages to this particular gland. Then the pituitary gland is often called as the master gland because it controls several other hormonal glands in your body, including the thyroid gland and adrenal, and the ovaries, and the testicles. So as I told you that this gland, pituitary gland, it is also known as the master gland, which controls the whatever the secretion of hormones of the other glands like adrenal, thyroid, parathyroid, testes, ovaries. They are controlled through this gland, pituitary gland. Then it secretes hormones from both the front part, that is anterior, and the back part, that is posterior of the pituitary gland. So both this region, anterior and posterior, they are responsible for the secretion of hormones. Then these hormones, they are chemicals that carry messages from one cell to another through your bloodstream. So through the bloodstream, these hormones, they passes towards their target cells, and that is carrying the messages to that particular sites where these hormones they pass. Then if the pituitary gland is not producing sufficient hormone amounts of that is one or more hormones, this is called as hypopituitarism. If there is any defect in the secretion of or production of pituitary hormones, if any hormone is that is defected, or it is not produced by the anterior or posterior region of pituitary gland, in that case it is said that the hypopituitarism, that is there is the hormones, some of the hormone, if it is not produced or synthesized in this gland. So if you see that the structure of this gland, the pituitary gland is, as I told you, that it is P-shaped gland and sits in the protective bony enclosure, that is a celica turcica. It is composed of three lobes. In animals, these three lobes are distinct, particularly in animals. In all animals, the fleshy glandular anterior pituitary is distinct from the neural composition of the posterior pituitary, which is an extension of the ventral diencephalon or hypothalamus region of the brain. It is said that the pituitary gland it is a modified, it get a that is modified structure of the region, that is diencephalon, which is present in midbrain of the that is a brain of animals, or it is also called as hypothalamus region. And from that region, there is an extension of this pituitary gland. Then the anterior lobe of pituitary can be divided into that is pars tuberalis and pars distalis region, that constitutes near about 80% of the gland. So anterior region of this pituitary gland, it is the region in which two divisions they are present, that is pars tuberalis and the region that is the pars distalis. These are the two regions. And the posterior lobe, and particularly if you see that these two regions, that is pars tuberalis and the pars distalis, these regions they are responsible to constitute the 80% part of the pituitary gland. Then the posterior lobe develops an extension of the hypothalamus. The simple arrangement differs sharply from that of adjacent anterior pituitary, which does not develop from the hypothalamus. Then the release of pituitary hormones by both the anterior and posterior lobes is under the control of the hypothalamus. So whatever the secretion of the hormones which are that is either in the anterior region of the pituitary or in the posterior region of the pituitary, that is controlled by the hypothalamus region. Then the pituitary gland has three distinct parts: anterior lobe or pars anterior, or it is also called as adenohypophysis. Then the middle lobe or the intermediate lobe, or it is also called as the pars intermedia. So the last one, that is third one, the posterior lobe, or it is also called as pars nervosa, or the neurohypophysis. So in these three regions, that is the adenohypophysis, pars intermedia, and neurohypophysis, these are the three regions which are present in the anterior side, middle side, and posterior side. So in this three distinct parts, this pituitary gland is that is divided. So this is about the pituitary gland. In the next period, we are going to make discussion on the that is remaining part of this bit,